it is the big topic going on, especially here in Atlanta, where people are. We've talked about this in Atlanta a lot. Good old return of Freaknik. Yeah. With this video coming out, all the shenanigans in and around it, everything that people are going to have to. People are already starting to find photos of themselves, videos of themselves popping up all over the internet. Question is, what you gonna do about it? Well, you can't do anything about it. Some people's lives are going to be changed because of pictures that pictures and videos that are coming out concerning this time frame. And I haven't met many people. I'm just getting some things squared away. I haven't met many people who don't. Growing up here in Atlanta, you definitely what it was, what it was about, how much that was going on during Freaknik. And like for me, I was a teenager. For most of the first, teenagers in the mid '80s, graduated high school in '90. So most of my Freaknik experience was when I was a teenager. Then I went to the Marine Corps. Then of course, at Marines, always wanted to come back to Freaknik. So I remember the highway being blocked. I don't know if you ever been to Freaknik. Let's start there. You ever been to? Let me know. I'm curious. If you're willing to admit that you went to Freaknik on here, and of course, it's a little bit of delay for YouTube because are using Zoom. They will incorporate other people into podcasts. Have you ever been to Freaknik? Comments and let me know if you've been there, if you've never been there. Did I share this yet? Share this over to my regular page. I gotta share this. The reason why this has to be shared to my regular page because I know that's got a lot of my Atlanta people on that page, and I know them jokers all the antics during Freaknik. But Freaknik historically, it started out as it was a Greek picnic. It was a picnic. It was like a Greek picnic that they had at the Atlanta University's campus. This is, your Clark, Spelman, Morehouse. Why am I forgetting the other college? Oh my God. Clark, Atlanta, Morehouse, Spelman. My brain is just dropping that last school. I don't know why. My apologies to anyone who went to those schools. But, it started out as just an event at the college. People went to the college. The college, there was like a whole festival kind of event where people just hung out and, it was music. It started getting bigger with more events. Other colleges from the Southeast started showing up. And then you start getting just people. I know, high schoolers was all down in there. You 16, 17, but we down there at the Freaknik with everybody else. Because hell, and when I was in high school, I had a full goatee. So it was no big deal for me to show up and participate. You saw people just being wild, free, partying, girls dancing on top of vehicles. Um, a whole bunch of things that I probably can't say here um, on social media without them shutting it down. But if it was if you can think of it, it was happening. It was happening during that time frame. So especially like one of the, and the thing about Freaknik is that no matter where you went, somebody always told you something else, that you missed out on something else, somewhere else. It was if you was over, like I remember I used to be at the used to be over at IHOP. Well, it's not IHOP anymore. It's the JR Crickets over on North Avenue. That was my spot. That was the spot that we used to try to get to all the time. Yeah, Morehouse, Park Atlanta, Spelman, and the other school. But that was the area I was always going towards that that IHOP. That was the destination. But if you was over Memorial, which is on outside the downtown area, you can get to Memorial. If you could get to Greenbrier, West End, like almost. And then the thing about it is that if you was over on one part, you could be on one part of the city, and you made up late on that night, and you see one of your friends from the other part of the city who was like, "Oh man, I was over at West End. I was over at IHOP." And somebody else was like, "I was over on Moreland. I'm over on Memorial." Everybody, each person had an attitude like, "Shh, you should have been where I was at." Like where I was at is where the party was. That was that's how like live it was going. So Wednesday is not. We don't talk about that on War Sale. We try to talk about relationships. I know, but it's freaking you have to do with relationships on Wednesday. Well, with everything always sometimes comes back and rears this ugly little head. So now, of course, there are those pictures and videos and photos that were supposed to stay hidden that you forgot you took. They're now coming to light. We're starting to see videos of themselves. Videos, you got the uh, what some people in here call Freaknik babies. You got a Freaknik baby. They were born in they what mid-30s down to they about 27 years old. That little age range right there. But that age range right there are the ones who are the babies, the products. They're the babies of this. Like me a second. So now some of these parents they got some explaining to do. There's a couple of funny skits out there that talks about it, where you got the guy who's like, talking about Freaknik, talking about Gen Z, then he see his mama and his auntie and everybody on there. And then he want to call his mama and auntie. Some of y'all gonna see some of your church folks on these videos. Some of your mothers, your ones who are in your church, and they your mothers, and they the deacons, and they the pastors. You're gonna see some of your possible politicians and lawyers and whatnot going to be showing up. It's some husbands who wives told them that they never went to they or they didn't say nothing about it, but just kept it to themselves, and all of a sudden they about to see some photos and videos. Like literally, I get demonetized showed this picture, but it was like 4 or 5 dudes standing around a girl bent over by a car. The girl looking back, they spreading her butt and pum pum wide open. You can clearly see the lady's face. You can clearly see each dude. With facial recognition and aging programs, you can determine who this person really is. Like, who are they today? What's their name? And everything has such a digital footprint. Ran through the right type of, ran through software, you'd be able to get the facial recognition of that person, age them up to, about 50, and then 50, 51, 52, and then boom. You can identify that person as, if they have a Facebook and social media, you can easily identify who that person is. And what if that person turns out to be your wife? What if that lady turns out to be your wife? I know some dude who will say, I'm done with that relationship. What if she's the first lady at your church? Is she your lawyer? What that's your mom-in-law? What's that's your mother-in-law? Now the question, what if that's your mother-in-law? What if that's your mom? Or if that's your aunt? And in today's world, what if that's your grandmama? Like, can you get past it? Because I thought about it. It's not just the person that has to now deal with this. It's not just, you're not just dealing with that one picture, but it is the continuous in your head thinking. If she was doing that, right? If she allowed 4 or 5 guys to spread her butt, spread her pom pom, take a picture of it, what else did she do? How many of those guys did she sleep with? Is that really my? Is that really my daughter? Because she came back, Freaknik. She was your girl. A couple of months later, she was your girl. Y'all had already been together. She got pregnant, and you've been here. Y'all been going through. Y'all had the baby, and y'all been raising the baby. Baby grown now. You might say you don't want to know, but you would want to know. How would that affect you? Yeah, I think a lot of guys, they would get caught up into the mindset of, I can't believe this, and put her right back into that stage. They would discount everything they know about her now. They would discount the person that they know, and they will hold her for that time frame as if it just happened. Not that you don't look at me like, God dang, like, it would be embarrassing. Don't get me wrong. I would be embarrassed if that was, if when that picture was shown to me yesterday and I looked at it, and then I'm like, God damn. And then I look at my lady like, that was you. You you embarrassed. You're gonna be embarrassed. What can you do? Can't do nothing about that. Move out the country. Move out the state. Go live in Iowa, Idaho. Go somewhere where nobody knows you, nobody's paying attention to what happened in Freaknik in 1994. Just go. But you have to deal with the embarrassment. So you be embarrassed. That's a given. But it's the all the other. Are you going to? What did you think of Would you allow all the other thoughts to permeate your brain? See, that's what uh, a lot of people are dealing with that right now anyway. Freaknik is just this big event that happened that's capturing people's attention right now. But at any time, any moment, your lady was spring break, your dude was down in spring break, and they just was getting doing all kind of things. They were banging bodies at bike week in Daytona. And are you gonna hold you holding yourself, you're gonna hold that person accountable? You're going to 20 years ago, something 30 years ago, something happened, and you're still pissed off about it. You're gonna now get mad about it. You're gonna break up the relationship about it. Like I've literally sat here and heard dudes talk about the fact that if some of those pictures, not that that was their spouse, they done with that relationship, or this is a long girl they've been dating for a few years. They're done with that relationship. There's something that happened 20 years ago, and I'm like, dude, that's you. This person is a wholly different. You done things when you were younger that you wouldn't be so proud of, and to hold a person to that, it's like you gotta let that go. You gotta let it go. But there's some people on here. I want to know what you guys think concerning that. Like, would you hold? What would you do? Got your popcorn ready, watching the Freaknik documentary, and as you're watching it, you see your lady on there doing some crazy stuff. You see your man doing some crazy stuff. You see your mama, your auntie doing some crazy stuff. Hey, look, some of y'all will see your grandmama on there. Some of y'all will see your grandmother on there because Freaknik wasn't just college age kids. You had a lot of military people who came in town. I know because them jokers used to want to come stay at my house, stay with my family houses during Freaknik. You had you just had grown jokers who were already in their late 20s, early 30s, who was down at Freaknik. And these people today would be in their 60s. So you might see your grandma twerking. Uh, right, the past is the past. I'm with you, C man. Past is definitely the past, and you have to let that go. You have to let that go. That the thing about it. I know I'm using Freaknik as a body count and actions of the past to capture, have a subject to spring from. But really, it comes down to you yourself and the growth and development and building of yourself. A person still holds on to all these earthly, physical matter level attachments. You can't hold on to those things. You have to be able to walk away and let those. You have to be able to leave the past. Past will take care. It really will. Past will take care of itself. But the past is only for you to learn from. If you have not grown from your past, then and you're still being the same person or having a similar attitude, then you've actually been regressing. There's no such thing as stagnation. There is only progress. There is only growth. If there is no progress, if there is no growth, if the vibrations aren't increasing, then you are dying. You are, you are death. And there literally are some people that I know personally that if I go, ain't no if, when I go some of the events that are held in my hometown, I see these people, and you would think Freaknik just last week. They got the same attitudes. They have the same behavior. They have not progressed in life at all. They are still holding on to those days of Freaknik, those high school days, those college days, as if and still being the same person. Minor changes here and there, but they're still holding on. Good morning, Teresa. Good morning, Angie. They're still holding on. Good morning, Daniel. Still holding on. All this conversation that people are having about, seeing some of their family members, seeing their ladies, their men on at Freaknik videos and whatnot. It's a funny conversation because it'll be like, God dang, auntie, I ain't know you used to twerk it like that. But it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't cause a problem with me because that's a person's past, and I'm gonna let that go. What I think will be great is that now I can see the person. Hey, Trina, you can see the person's growth and development. You can see how they've grown, and they've become a different person. Like Trina, who is my cousin, just got on the Facebook one. Um, we both grew up in Marietta, and I'm pretty sure she can attest that there are people in our hometown. Them jokers have not grown past high school. They are still the same people, same mentality. They don't have growth within themselves, and those are the kind of people that will hold on to the past. They grab onto the past and they never let it go. They never let it go. That is the glory days. That is the glory days. I've noticed that when we have the conversation here about Freaknik, that there are some people, you can tell that was the best time of their life, that they were at their apex, they could reach the top of the mountain during that time frame. And if that's when you reach the top of the mountain, then sad, sad situation. If that was the greatest growth you've ever had, the best time you've ever had in your life, sad. Because the sad part about that is that you won't allow anybody else around you to grow. If you still are holding on to what a person's past is, you're still holding on to your own past. You never, you'll never let a person or any person around you grow. You would want to hold them stagnant and keep them at a low vibrational level, just like yourself. It's almost like it's one thing when you go to your high school football game and it's the homecoming game, and you might dust off the old Letterman jacket and go out there with it. But it's when I'm just like I told you guys, I'm from Marietta, Georgia. But if you're from Marietta, you know it's Mayweather. Trina knows it's Mayweather. But it's one thing that you go into the homecoming, whole nother thing when you see somebody and it's damn near a daily wear, and they walking around whole neighborhoods and they still got their Letterman jacket. You know, I can even understand it if so. Like when we have our Marietta days, it's a block party that if you ain't from Marietta, right? But I can even understand if somebody broke it out for that. I get it. When you hold on to it, that's it. There's no growth. And if you're not growing, you're dying. Simple as that. And all this conversation about Freaknik, what you're gonna do, what if you see your mama, what if you see your girlfriend, what if you see your wife, all this kind of let it go. Let it go. Trina, you know you see some of them jokers walking around Mayweather with them damn Letterman jackets on. That's right, C Mac. It's Mayweather. If you ain't from Mayweather, you don't know nothing about Mayweather. He don't know nothing, Trina. He don't know nothing. I'm also simulcasting on YouTube. Illinois, Mayweather. That's for the people born and raised. But holding on to now, I will there it will be interesting to see if any person who's now become a politician, or there was a picture yesterday that somebody was saying that it was Londa Adams at Freaknik, right? Some people, folks are gonna hold them to a higher standard. They're gonna hold them to a higher standard. You know, if Trina's Freaknik pictures ever came out, I was just joking. Trina probably don't have any Freaknik pictures, but anybody's pictures can come out. Hold on, Trina said, uh, my son asked me will he see me. I said, I was at my brother's wedding. I was pissed. I missed it, but I caught the night flight. Okay, my bad. So you might see some pictures of Trina, some videos. I ain't gonna lie. Uh, when I was 16, I was going to Freaknik when it was just at the AU Center. And then as they moved off to to start covering the city, I was still there until I went to the Marine Corps. Actually, let me rephrase, back it up. Until I went to Germany. Until I went to Germany in 90, at the end of 93. So 93 was my last Freaknik that I participated. I heard 95 was crazy. I'm talking, it was like backed up on the highway, which is funny because then there was a few times it was backed up on the highway. Because I remember one time when I was in high school and we was at Freaknik and it was backed up on 75, and people just started getting out the cars, and I had a truck and the girls jumped on the back of my truck. I'm just saying, it was. So it's possible that there could be pictures of me, videos of me that show up, especially any of it is around that where the IHOP used to be on North Avenue. And I'm not gonna say I was, but stay C-Mac, you say you want to see you on there? Training, it might not be doing anything crazy, training, but it might be, your face might be seen. But I am nowhere near the same person I was then. Even then. Now, when I was in high school and I went to Freaknik, yeah, I did whatever. When I was in the Marine Corps and I went down there, it was really taking some other guys from the Marine Corps who were just, they from Chicago, they from New York, they from Texas. They heard about Freaknik, wanting to go to Freaknik. So I brought them. But because we was in the Marine Corps, it was like, we were conscious of people taking pictures of us because, being military service people, you had to be conscious of that. Thankfully, you didn't have this internet stuff back, not in the same framework. You didn't have all this social media. So we weren't worried about that. But you can imagine if some of those pictures were to surface late in your career, and in the military, it would matter. It would matter if you're all of a sudden you're high ranking and then these pictures or videos. That's why, like, my son being in the Air Force right now, I'm like, dude, be mindful of everything you put on Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Mindful of who's taking pictures of wherever you are. Because in today's world, it's easier to come back and bite you in the ass. This Freaknik thing gonna bite some people in the ass. That's a given. It's gonna bite some people. It should not bite you in the ass if you're in a relationship with somebody. It should not bite you in the ass as far as most people's occupation. But if you're in a relationship with somebody, it really shouldn't bite you in the ass. if some pictures or videos of me really did surface of some of the things that just went through my head that I know that happened, you know, I'll just be like, hey, man, look, 17, 18 years old. What you expect? You can't put that in front of me and not expect me to do nothing. Didn't go to that, but sure have fun in Chico, Cinco, 86, 87, then shut us down. Damn Playboy. Where's Cinco? Cinco, 86 and 87. I mean, I missed something, but hey, Demiria. How you doing? But yeah, so there are so many guys who are concerned. I'm gonna pivot a little bit. There's so many guys who are concerned about a woman's that when you contemplate things like free, how many bodies did she have? How many, you know, what type of leg stretching things was she doing that freaked me? Maybe I'm just different. Don't give a damn. But when I have these conversations, I if I wanted to create more buzz, then I would be one of those guys like, if you um, you got more than 5 bodies, you got more than 20 bodies, then you're not a woman, you're not a mother material. How can you raise a daughter, and how can you become a wife and all this kind of stuff, because you're not the kind of woman that a man would, you know. I look on, especially on TikTok, when you see guys having people having this argument, it's the ones that come off with that mindset gravitate towards. What's up, Thomas? How you doing? That people run toward. My mind is too open, it's too elevated to look at a woman and say that makes a difference as to whether or not you can be a good mother, whether or not you can be a good wife. So if a video arises where you was in an orgy during Freaknik, or a train was being ran during Freaknik, we talking 30 plus years ago, I don't give a damn. That's not the person that you are today, right? C-Mac just came up and said, unless it's a sex tape, why people worry? Even if it's a sex tape, you might be embarrassed a little bit. But what does it matter? What will it matter? You met this person 10 years ago. It was in the 90s. You meet this person in the 2000 teens, right? 10 years ago, 2012, you met this person. They've been an temporary person. They've nourished you. They've cherished you, uplifted you. They've been a great partner with you, you know, and you're going to let that destroy this? You've been through relationships where you and the person just couldn't match up and y'all kept having problems. Now you now found somebody that's matching up with you. That's your mate. That is your reflection. Your reflection, but and they are the perfection of your reflection. You're gonna mess that up because a Freaknik tape came out. A video, a sex videotape came out from Freaknik when she was 20 years old. I I don't think you would give that up. I don't think you let that go. I mean, one guy was saying that I just don't want, like, if she was at Freaknik and she was doing all this, I just wouldn't want to know. Hey Denise X, you seen you in a while there. How you doing? Energy shift. Do I think Hulu has a documentary? I think Hulu's agenda for releasing this documentary is to make money. Honestly, I haven't thought about it in those terms of what could Hulu's agenda. I don't think Freaknik is going to. If you look at those people of the generation that would have been there, of my generation, who would have been there, I don't think it's a career destroying, political career destroying that happened because, especially if Joe Biden, I'm not trying to get too political here, but if Joe Biden can stand 40 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, 40 years ago, I think, standing up there on the Senate floor and talk about how he don't want black kids being coming into their neighborhoods and raping and stealing, and we got to have this three strike system to do that, and y'all still elect him president. And I say y'all because I wrote my name into the ballot. Y'all still elect him president, then why should it destroy anybody, any black politician or black media person, business person? It shouldn't make a difference because that was 30 years. Uh, so yeah, I don't, I don't, I don't hold nobody to their past against them. I go off the first day I meet you. Exactly. You go off the first day you meet them. It's busy. Our time's not just sinking. It's all right. It's right. It's food to spend this much time in past. We all have skeleton. We live in the Me Too area. Uh, this will support the narrative of melanated people. Eric said that he couldn't continue the relationship. It would weigh on his mind too much. And everybody has their breaking points. I get it. Everybody has their point that they got to. It's just not. It's, I'm not going to hold somebody accountable for something that happened. They were They were kids. They were young. We all have something that we did that, um, if expressed or shown, a person would let us go. Would let us go. But what did my man say? We live in a Me Too era. And this will support that narrative against melanated people. I don't see that. I understand that there is a difference between those who hold the power. They can let things that happen in their society slide. Girls going wild, all the date when the Daytona spring autumn break videos. You got all the white people, acting out. I get that we're held under a higher microscope, made more difficult for us. But I don't think it undermines because it happened so long ago. I don't think it undermines what black people in America are doing today. I don't think it undermines what we have achieved today and what we're further developing. So it doesn't facilitate a narrative against melanated people. If anything, we're going to see more white people like, damn, I missed it. Damn, I missed it. Or to be honest, okay, guys, I'll just get right here. I think we're going to see, I think it'll just be like it was a thing that happened in Atlanta, isolated. It wasn't like it was a national event that was happening in multiple cities across America. And from it created, you know, a huge problem in the world, in America. If anything, the only damage, the real damage of Freaknik was a whole bunch of y'all came down to Atlanta for Freaknik, and y'all didn't leave. Like my city was mostly Atlanta people, Southeast people back then. Y'all came down to Freaknik, and you didn't know how to go home. Y'all didn't know how to go home. Y'all stayed. A lot of people came in here, man, is this what it's like? Is the weather nice? It's cheaper? Partying like this? And jokers transferred to the AU colleges, transferred to Georgia State, whatever college they can get into. Some of y'all just moved down here and like, man, it's better to live here than live in New York. And actually, it expanded the city. More and more Black people moved to Atlanta, and Atlanta grew and became, this Black Mecca, more so than it already was. It's kind of like how, I know I'm going to go off the deep end on this one. If you ever did research about the bubonic plague, the Black Plague that and killed off anywhere from 40 to 70% of the population, if they didn't have the Black Plague, then their industrialization would have been held back. Europe would not have grown as quickly. Killing off all those people ended the feudal system, which increased wages and increased ingenuity. So as the rest of the world was more sitting in complacency, because of something that was a huge event, it changed the narrative of Europe, and they became more industrialized faster than the rest of the world. Not that that was a wholly good thing, but we know who suffered from that. But although Freaknik was looked at as a negative thing by the more adult people back in those days, especially the church people, it fueled that. It gave Atlanta a lot of new blood. He said some even went to Perimeter College just to be here. Yeah, and Perimeter College has grown, dude. It has gotten so much bigger than it used to be back in the day. Used to be that was like, I was too dumb. I barely graduated high school, and I need a place that'll take me, and they would take anybody. They didn't care. Perimeter College got qualifications now. I think they might. They're bigger. I know that. Got multiple campuses, but it fueled Atlanta. It grew. City grew financially, economically, education wise. Power dynamic, and it cemented even more so the power dynamic in the city of Atlanta. It brought new ideas to Atlanta. It just as the airport was a big boost to the city of Atlanta, the Freaknik was a huge boost to the city of Atlanta economically, and then long term as far as population draw to the city. So, unfortunately, all y'all are here, so y'all get on my nerve. But it was great. It had a greater impact. But an agenda, I don't see an agenda from Hulu. This is not going to hurt Black people at all. If anything, it's just going to be fun. I'm gonna watch it. It's nostalgic for me to see some of the places, go through some. As you get older, you can't remember everything that happened. Like, oh shit, I forgot about that place. If they start showing some of the old clubs that we used to go to that we weren't supposed to be in, because I had a full beard or a goatee. Oh shit, I remember getting into Charles Disco. Something to get it for. The Charles Disco was back in the day. Me 17 years old in Charles Disco, ain't got no business in there. I was in there. You can go on Memorial Drive. It was a parking lot on Memorial Drive. You could leave your car on the road, go into a club, and come back, and your car's still there. Because nobody moved. Who knew 213? No, they didn't leave. I'm telling you, energy shift, and who knew 213? Oh, appreciate you. Club 559. I don't know that club, but there was so many clubs in it. The growth of entrepreneurship in the Black community dramatically increased during that time because there was so many opportunities, and you had all these new people coming into the city. People got out of poverty. People grew because of all the things that was happening. Atlanta became a happening place. And if Atlanta hadn't became that happening, would it have become the headquarters of so many companies? Would companies have set up so many corporate buildings here or corporate accounts here? Would they have, would the Hollywood of the South thing would have happened if all that growth hadn't come, during the 90s? To a certain degree, it wouldn't. So economically, great. Politically, Freaknik was great. Man said that he couldn't, where my man said he couldn't do it. It would be weighing on, Eric said it'd be weighing on his mind if he saw his wife freakniking. Me, I'm a little different. If I saw my lady and she was twerking, oh, hold on now. Been knowing you for 5 years later, I ain't seen you ain't twerk like that for me. I don't hear nothing about your hips don't move like that no more. I need some of that. When I get home, let me tell you what I want to see when I get home. Oh, spotlight. I don't know. Here's the lamp. Put some candles around and make a stage. And I'm sitting in a chair. I had a chair ready for me. See you twerk like you twerk. That's me. You gotta drop a couple of voices. Tell her how you want her to. We're gonna put some of that old Miami bass music. Drop some of that too. Not pretty. Yeah. Don't stop with that. We're gonna do something. That's but to each his own, Eric. I get, you have your stance, you have your mindset, but I would wager, I would literally put money on it. And if you have a great relationship, you're not gonna let it weigh on you as much as you think. I think that, yeah, it's gonna bother you. You're gonna be upset for, a little bit. And every now and then it's gonna hit your brain. But I don't think you'll end the relationship because you'll be looking at the person that you're with now. That's right. Don't stop. Get it, get it. That's what you're gonna tell. You know what? We're gonna work through this. Oh man, we're gonna work through it. And that's what that actually is growth in you. Uh, because Eric, I don't understand why I'm saying, do I want that to happen to you in your current relationship if you're in a current relationship? No. But it would be something that would help you or give you an opportunity to grow. We grow when we face challenges. We grow when we have to deal with our own self at a higher level, at a deeper higher level, at a deeper level. The Miami base gonna get you a baby. Ain't getting me a baby, not right now. My baby days are over. No babies. Let me get the microphone a little closer for that one. No. It would you'd grow. You either gonna grow or you're gonna die. You're gonna grow or you're gonna start dying. One of the two. Um, when you, in fact, this need to be close in. When you experience something like that, is because now you have to reevaluate. You literally have to reevaluate some of the things that you think how you would react, but now you have to truly respond to the situation. And when we have to truly respond, that's when we're able to grow. That's when we're able to see who we really are, because we now are facing challenge. And if that's even for me, I'm sitting here saying that, oh, I'll be fine. I see my lady up there, and she was doing some, crazy stuff. Even like I said in the very earlier in this video, the picture that where it was about 4 or 5 guys standing around, and the girl, they got to spread her butt cheeks and spread her pom pom. Picture of that, and she looking back like, uh. I sit here and say that I would be like, dang, baby, it really happened, and I'd be embarrassed, but I wouldn't leave the relationship. If it was actually her, I'm still, I'm quite 1% positive I wouldn't leave the relationship. But being that I own a cigar lounge and I'm sitting amongst people, the arbitrary persons and whomever comes in here, and they like looking at that picture and they looking at my lady, they looking at that picture, they looking at my lady, they got a picture looking at the lady. Now if I knew that was going on, I'd be like, what the hell, man? You ain't got to be rude like that. It would create those kinds of issues, but I don't see myself breaking up a relationship. I don't see myself doing that. Like I said, my crazy butt is more likely to be like, girl, come on home, let's twerk that thing at home. You see what you're working with. See, move them old hips. Because you was 20 then, you was 18, 19, 20 then. No, we're not now. I'm not gonna end it. Now, one thing that I did see that people commenting on that particular picture was that people were saying that, oh, this could be because nowadays they pulling up people, oh, 30 years ago, but he put pills in my drink, and um, what's my man? Shit, I forgot his name. He's being dropped from a whole bunch of people right now, even though he hasn't been proven guilty of anything. Jonathan Majors, yeah, they trying to say, oh yeah, 130 counts of something. People trying to come back from this, and he did that. Some people like, oh, a whole bunch of cases, because people are gonna be like, yeah, I was violated back then. I'm not a lawyer, but I think the statute of limitation might have run out on some of this stuff, or should have run out on some of this stuff. But and I'm sure that there were some overly over aggression that was happening during Freaknik, but a lot of this stuff was people did it willingly. People did a lot of this stuff very willingly. It wasn't a lot of forcing. Um, Look, I'm gonna tell you, I was on 75. Traffic was stopped. There was a girl who had her legs hanging out of a car window, pum pum out, pum pum exposed. And dudes was walking up to the car. Next guy, next guy, next guy. She can't claim she was violated, you know, that she was forced into it. She allowed it. She desired it, at least then. So I'm sure that some people, in order to save face if something comes up like that, they may say that, oh, what people don't know, I was being held down in the car or something like that. I walked past that car. And there wasn't nobody holding that girl down. She was doing that all on her own. Nothing but girls in that. But we are in a time frame where people will try to say that they were violent. That is the one thing I hope that does not come out of this uh, whole thing. It is a resurgence of the Me Too movement in a sense that it makes it harder for actual victims to be able to get their cases heard. That was community coochie. It was. It was. I ain't gonna lie, because I know y'all wondered in your mind. Yeah, I didn't just walk by, but hey, it was a time. That's what happened. Willing participants. There were things that happened at Dominique's that people were willing participants during that time frame. So I hope that that doesn't come out of it. I hope that people can just see it as something that happened in the Black community back then. Yeah, it started getting a bit out of hand. I would not want to see Freaknik have a resurgence today. Not because I think that my daughters or my nieces, cousins would go down there and do a whole bunch of stuff actually they did on their business. Well, my grown older one is involved to that degree. But my issue today is that the kids back then, there were fights, but you fought, you either won or you lost, and then you went off to the next party. Today, they don't know how to fight. They just know how to shoot. And I think that would be detrimental to the Black population here in Atlanta. If you were to try to have today, people would want to pull guns and people would shoot. You'll see a lot of that. I think you'll see a lot of police brutality, even more so than before, if Freaknik were to happen today. And that would, I don't know. Not all things that we see as bad has the lasting result sometimes is good. Like I was saying about the Black Death, it wound up being a good thing for Europe that they had the Black Death. So mine works differently. If we had Freaknik today, and there would be some gun violence to the point where the police would have to try to shut it down. And we know that and if the event is large enough, the scale of the atrocities is large enough, it might wake Black people up and stop all this. We don't hope that people have a change of mind and we really it could be that event that galvanizes Black people to realize that we are never going to get our equal share by asking and pleading and voting. The murder rate was crazy in the 90s. That's when all the shooting started. The murder rate was up there, but most of us fought. Like I'm telling you, when I got into a couple of fights during the different years of Freakniks that I was there, especially when I was in the Marine Corps, because shit, we was walking around about 20, 30 deep. We was pretty like a bunch of Marines. We were like a military gang. And we whooped a lot of ass. But today, it would be a lot more shooting. I understand that it was up high then, but it would be a lot more shooting today. We have a Freaknik today in Atlanta with this traffic. We do. Thankfully, I don't deal with traffic. I have engineered my life for the last 20 years that I don't deal with traffic. for the most part. It's rare when I get caught up in traffic, but it could be that galvanizing because most of the, like I say this all the time, most things don't change for people until they feel enough pain. And we need to feel some pain. We, unfortunately, the civil rights movement wasn't enough pain. Jim Crow wasn't enough pain for black people. Not to do what we really need to do. It was close. It was close. It wasn't enough pain. We could use some pain. We can use a lot of. In order to go where I believe that we need to go as a society, we need a lot of pain. Of course, that's getting away from this video, what this video is about. But other than Tuesdays, I really don't try to stick with a topic, but we can move if we choose to. But we could use some pain. I was going over my plan yesterday with a gentleman who actually was in a similar plan. We need a wake-up call for sure. Integration screwed us for sure. It made us soft. It certainly, we did become very, very soft. It's like we are too forgiving. We are too patient to move in the direction that we need to. Where's the documentary on the hippie movement? A lot of Me Too at that time. Yeah, if you can, there actually, I've documentaries on the hippie movement. What was the concert that they had? There's a town in Atlanta called Stockbridge. Call it Woodstock. There we go. Woodstock. There are a lot of videos and documentaries of Woodstock that you. It's funny. I remember seeing the hippie movement videos in the 2000s, and they were showing in the 90s and the 2000s. They were showing how a lot of these people are now corporate people. They're CEOs and CFOs and all those sorts of things. And I think if you track down some Freaknik one, you'll see that some of those people are now corporate, whatever, corporate, lawyers and doctors and all these sorts. Never been to Atlanta, but I always want to check it out. That you have seen. Yes, I have. Look, I don't want to, okay, understand this. Atlanta full, okay? Angie, you probably are a really nice person. And you would probably be a great addition to the city. But we full. Okay, we full. But Atlanta has changed. This area that I'm in right now. I'm in Stone Mountain. When I was growing up, Stone Mountain was a sundown town. Meaning that unless you lived here, and even if you did, you need to get out of Stone Mountain before the sun goes down. And this, I'm talking about the 80s and 90s. Atlanta was a sundown town. I mean, Stone Mountain was a sundown. If I was over here, like one of my boys, Russell, was dating a girl who lived in the late 80s. It's late 80s. And my license plate said Cobb County. When the sun started getting ready to go down, her parents would tell us, y'all need to get back to Cobb County. Y'all need to get out of Stone Mountain. And they would tell their kids they can stay and play in the neighborhood, they can stay in the cul-de-sac and all that kind of stuff. That was fine. But they would tell us, y'all need to get back to Cobb County. Y'all need to get out here. And if we did stay past sundown, they would always tell us go this other route that took us into an area. So that, we go into Redan area or through Clarkston. Clarkston wouldn't say, but go through Redan or Clarkston so that we stayed in the black community on our way back so that we can get on the highway and get back to Cobb County. Because this was a sundown. Now, this area is like 48, 50% black. It's about 40% black. Because it's about 10% Indian, Indian and Asian, or Asian with a mixture of Indians and actual other Asians. And then it's like 60% black, white. Oh, right. Well, 50% white. And most of those white people are from somewhere else. They're not from here. So I've seen this city change. I've seen black people, I've seen the racial divides become less and less. We still have a huge racial divide here in Atlanta. But I've seen economies grow. I've seen black people being able to do more, although we are still 96% of the lower 60 economically, if you understand what I'm saying. So if you look at the bottom 16% of economics of people of economics in Atlanta, black people make up 96% of the bottom 16. We are still not the largest landowners. We are not the largest business owners. We are making, Atlanta has a more of a true middle class that a lot of areas don't have. We have a lot of people who are, the average income in America is, for a person in America is 54,000, something like that, somewhere around in that number. But C-Mac know what I'm talking about. But and there was a lot of sun. But you will see more Atlanta people making 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000 than you will see in a lot of other cities and in a lot of other places. So Atlanta has changed dramatically in that format. And part of that is the jokers who didn't leave after Freaknik. And after they didn't leave, they invited all the rest of y'all to come down here. I hate when an Atlanta sports team plays a New York, Chicago sports team, and you go to the game, shit, half the damn stadium is cheering for the other team. I went to the Falcons versus the Steelers. Shit, it was just as many Steelers fans there as Atlanta fans. It was a home game for the Steelers. The way the cheering was going, it was like, but it was interesting to hear the same level of cheering, both teams. Same level of cheering, same level of boos for both teams. Love my state and hate politics, but you're moving to Redding, California, or you're in Redding. There, you couldn't pay me to live in California. I know if my boy Brandon guy, he's in San Diego. He loves San Diego. Hey, you couldn't pay me. Ain't enough money. I ain't gonna say there ain't enough money. There's enough money for me to do something. But in general, there is not enough money to get me to move to California. It's just, one, y'all have to disaster. Y'all gonna fall into the ocean one day. Then you have mudslides, then you have forest fires. Y'all got too much going on in California. I remember when y'all had killer bees in Southern California. Y'all got too much going on. It's too much. You watch all the little disaster movies. They're always blowing up something in California. Something always happened in California. You have it. And y'all prices are too high in California. My guy Brandon has a great house, nice house in California. There ain't no way in hell I pay that price for that house. His house in California would cost you about 300,000 here in Atlanta. I ain't gonna tell y'all how much. Way more than, it's multiplied big time in San Diego. Y'all prices are ridiculous. What's up, Atwater? That's why I don't know if you was here with us last Friday when we was talking about moving to Africa, and I was showing y'all some of the housing prices in Africa, and I'm like, those prices make Atlanta prices seem ridiculous. Dang on house I showed y'all on Friday, cost you 145,000 in Uganda, in Rwanda. Same damn house in Atlanta cost you 700,000, and not paying 6x for a house here that I can get over there. It's ridiculous. California is ridiculous like that. Y'all need change in y'all economy. And then y'all a smoke free, little stay down. You have my cigars. Checking in from Los Angeles. See, there you go. One of them Los Angeles people. How you doing, Lois? Am I saying Lois right? Lois Collins. How you doing? Not moving. Northern California is totally different than Southern and South and Sacramento. Cali and New York, I can never move in, never live in. It's ridiculous pricing. I don't care. Northern California, y'all get cold, so that nixes out that area for me. I complain about the cold in Atlanta. What you think I'm gonna do in Northern California? Die. I would die. But Freaknik brought y'all down here. Y'all learned our secrets. Y'all learned our economic secrets. Y'all learned our financial growth ability secrets. Y'all learned too many of our secrets when y'all came down here. Y'all don't know how to go home. Y'all need to go home. So Angie, I'm glad you're not moving to Atlanta. You fool. You fool, goddamn. Send your application. We'll have to review it. But y'all be getting me off subject all the time. Start talking about one thing, we talk about something else. But I am interested in seeing what happens with the whole Freaknik thing. Seeing how people respond is going to be. Definitely don't see any kind of agenda from Hulu by producing. I think the agenda for Hulu is an opportunity to make money, since nobody has ever done a video about that. I think it may also inspire people to recognize that they can create large events like that. And because large events like that also increases the financial wealth of any particular group who can create those kinds of things. Now, do I want a repeat of Freaknik? No. I don't think that's the route to go, especially in this social media world that we live in now. But if you dig into it, some of the things behind it, some of the things that happen afterwards, I think you can see people will be able to see some opportunities that they may be able to take advantage of that we don't do today. I think it also showed a level of freedom that we took as younger people back then. We've gotten so Puritan in our mindset nowadays that we see some relationships work because we've developed this Puritan mindset. You may call it maturity, but it's gone too far. Being in a cigar lounge, I get to see people. I get to see and hear people, and I get to see and hear what they talk about. I get to see and hear what they like, what they don't like. I get to see what's going. A lot of these people are suffering in their relationships because they don't have fun in their relationship. If I had an old boring ass woman and I seen that she was a fun girl at Freaknik, I'm like, look, we don't need the whole Freaknik person. We need some fun. We need to bring some of that fun, some of that, letting loose, enjoying yourself, carefreeness that you had back then. We need some of that now. Like I never lost that. If anything, Freaknik encouraged me to come more out of my shell during that time frame. And mind you, I started participating in Freaknik when I was in high school. So it allowed me to say that, you know what, these things that growing up in the South that held me to this Puritan Southern Baptist kind of um, stringent mentality, it allowed for me to see people being more free. And I grabbed a hold of it. It allowed me, and I became a intimacy more free person intimacy wise. Um, Economically, I saw that there are you if you would have told me that something can that people could create something that grows that big, they can organize things that grow that big. The way I grew up, I knew you could start a business, but I didn't know you can make that kind of money. I didn't know yet you can get those kind that many people involved, that many black people involved in anything. If you want to make something bigger, I saw ways that make it bigger, make it fun. It's kind of like I was having a discussion years ago, and some people was asking, we was talking about how can Juneteenth and Kwanzaa get bigger and better? How can we make it bigger? How can we get more people involved in it? How can more people participate? And one of the things I said to that is too stringent. Is too boring, right? Why is 4th of July a huge celebration? I know YouTube is 15 seconds behind, so I'm gonna give a little bit of time for people to respond to that. Why is 4th of big? Why is Cinco de Mayo big? Why is Memorial Day big? Why is and I want you to think about what those things are supposed to be celebrating, the actual events that they're supposed to be celebrating. But why are they so big? Why is Christmas so big? Beyond this religious connotation, why is it so big? All of those events, why is Halloween so big? They all share some common traits. I'm waiting. Come on, YouTube. Facebook ain't gonna say nothing. Come on, YouTube. Tell me why they so big. Hey man, I'm a guy. Energy shift because we all get on the Grey Goose and OJ and turn up. Exactly. Exactly. If you're in the midst of typing something similar to that, you are absolutely right. Cinco de Mayo is a holiday based on the actual holiday is based on some battle that some people fought in Mexico. That the people in Mexico don't even really celebrate. But Corona wanted to introduce their beer to, so they made it the official beer of Mayo, and they made it into a party. 4th of July is alcoholic and a party. Halloween party, and you're getting kids getting candy. It's a party. You know, Memorial Day, Labor Day, is barbecues and parties. There has to be an element of barbecue. It has to be an element of food and drinks in order to make a holiday. I'm sorry, Kwanzaa. I understand what they were trying to go after, but the libations weren't there. These handmade gifts. We're gonna get down with that. Juneteenth. You got to turn that into more of a 4th of July kind of party. In Mayretta, where I'm from, in Mayretta, it's like that in Mayretta. They on Marietta Square. There's concerts, there's singing, there's dancing, there's libation, there's alcohol. It's a party. That's why Juneteenth has been celebrated in Marietta. I don't know how long it started. I know they started doing it, wasn't living here, but it's a party that made it more popular. Was Freaknik the beginning of sexual liberation, black people, black and brown women? I'm going to say that it had a major part to play because even after the 60s and women's lib and all that kind of stuff, the black woman and the brown woman were still kind of reserved their sexuality. For my generation and every generation that has come after, my generation saw that they can be sexually free during Freaknik. That what decade of Freaknik, because I'm gonna give it from like I think his first Freaknik was like in 84, 83, 84, when it was just a college reunion, and then grew into Freaknik until its demise. I think it ended in 98, around that time frame. I think by the time I got back from Germany, there was no. It was the churches tried to convert it into Black family reunion, and that didn't go off at all. That didn't work out at all. But I do agree that my generation started to see that they can be more sexually free. I know that it had an impact on me being more sexually free. So I do think that it was a strong catalyst for Black women to realize that they can they can be free in their sexuality, free in their intimacy because of during that time frame. If it wasn't for Freaknik, I don't know if I would have started learning about tantra prior to that. I was open to when did I first heard about Kama Sutra in 91. Yeah, 91. And from that, I learned about tantra. Started learning more and more about tantra in that whole time frame. In that 90 to 95, 96 time frame. Freaknik, I can see that it played a part in my openness to that. I think it did play a part in Black and brown women becoming more sexually conscious of their their sexuality, their enjoyment of their sexuality. Which, if you look at any relationship, most of them who are suffering, it's either finances or sex. And most divorces occur because of finances or sex. So I think it played a big part of that. Outside barbecue friends, we used to block off the road and have block parties. And back in the day, you knew everyone on your block, and we turned out 80s and 90s. Yeah, that is, Angie, that's why I tell people here when I left, like this last summer, I had somebody watching the lounge. They was like, "Where you going?" I was like, "Oh, we having Marietta. We having a block party. For the people who grew up in Marietta. We don't let all you transplants come because y'all messed it up when we first started doing it. Y'all trying to turn block parties into, um, you want to make it a New York party. But here in Atlanta, there's so many, there's so many transplants. I remember it used to be 10 years ago, you would only have New York Day. There'll be a whole New York block party. Now there's so many New Yorkers here that y'all break it up. There's the Bronx block party, there's the Harlem block party, Brooklyn block party that y'all have that we have in Atlanta. The Caribbean Festival gotten so big that we have multiple Caribbean festivals here. I know there's at least two, might be more. I know there's a soca party that happens. So culturally, Atlanta has all these different parties, different events based on different cultures that are here now. So there is somewhat of a resurgence that I still don't know my neighbor across the street, but I barely know him. But that is something that I do miss. I miss being able to know. I see a kid walking down the street. I know whose child that is. They act up. I'm not calling the police. I'm going knock on. How you doing, Mr. Johnson? Yeah, I saw little Eddie. Or in my neighborhood, I saw little Abdul, and little Abdul was, throwing rocks, at the street sign or at the red light or whatever. We don't have that, but we do need to get back to it. And that's something that if you looked at Freaknik, you can have in your neighborhood. You can organize a block party. You can organize it in your neighborhood. You truly want your neighborhood to grow and become connected, especially if you live in a neighborhood where the majority of the people look like you. You can create that in your neighborhood. And Freaknik was a great thing that said that we can do that. You can have a Juneteenth celebration in your neighborhood. And when you do that, you get to know your neighbors. You get to know the families that are in your neighborhood. As Black people, that's something that we need. We have adopted the cultural identity of America, of most Americans, of white Americans. They don't necessarily need to know everybody like they used to. They're good, but we need to create our own. Right. Freaknik was a Black and brown version of Woodstock. It was. Boy, it was. You can tell if you haven't figured it out. I have very fond memories of Freaknik. Very fond memories. Keep seeing people walk by my window. That's why I keep my left, your right. I got very fond memories. That's why if I saw my lady twerking on Freaknik, it wouldn't bother me at all. I'd be more of the mindset, come on, baby, take it home. Let's work with it. Get it, get it. But we do need to become more sexually liberated in our relationship. I sit here and I listen to a lot of these guys, and guys, they definitely want the woman on the street freaking the sheet. Most of them, some of them not so, but they definitely want that. Do you see Freaknik ever making a comeback, or has Coachella taken that spot? I don't think Coachella has taken that spot, but people have tried to create Freaknik again here in Atlanta quite a few times. You had two opposing groups trying to create it some years ago, about 10 years ago. But they were trying to do it in a more Coachella style event. Part of the problem with trying to create Freaknik and call it is that people want it to be how Freaknik was back in the 80s and 90s. It's not. You can't do it the same way. I wouldn't even use the same name. I would create an entirely different name. Because when you say Freaknik, it was more free flowing. It wasn't organized. Originally it was organized because it was on the AU college campus when it was college reunion. but you would have to, right, it would have to be a private event. It can't be as free flowing as Freaknik. Or I mean, we Peachtree Street locked down, North Avenue locked down, the highways were locked down. My generation would die if all that stuff was locked down. You'd have to do it like Coachella is out. I think it's out in an open field somewhere. You would have to make it an event where it's outside the city, and it doesn't have to be far outside the city. We have areas in Atlanta where you can't do it, like Lakewood Amphitheater. You have to do it somewhere like that, or there's another on the south side. Well, not even that far away from Lakewood. I can't think of it. Think of the name of the area, but off Camp Creek Road, there's a big field area, concert hall area that you would have to do it at. Do it there. And Coachella draws in all these big names, that sort of thing. So you have to start at grassroots. It's not that difficult. You can still get a few big names to come. You can get some of the growing names now. I don't know all these. I don't pay attention to most of the music that's produced today, but you'd be able to get some of those. If you had, if let's say somebody like Ti and Ludacris, if they got together or individually created an event and brought in the talent, they could create that style of an event. Because we do have similar events like that. Memorial Day weekend here in Atlanta, we have Atlanta Jazz Festival. Over the course of a 3-day weekend, they probably get about a good million people come through. At any given time, you could have in Piedmont Park, you can have about a good 300,000 people that are in the park at one time frame. So I do think that a Freaknik style event, more organized, private event in a park, in a place that's designated, could draw that kind of, could create that kind of an event that's geared towards Black people, Black artists, and you would get that population. You would get people coming from all over to do it. You got to have a growth plan. You got to look at it long term. First year it's gonna be, it's just like how Freaknik started. First it was just a Atlanta thing. If you weren't in Atlanta, what you didn't know it happened, and then let it grow from there. Big proponent because I ride motorcycles. I they didn't treat us right down in Daytona. When we had Black Bike Week, all of a sudden they changed the rules as far as the city, how that worked. When we used to go to Myrtle, and that was in Daytona, when we used to go to Myrtle Beach, then they changed the rules. I always thought that Atlanta would have been a better place to have a Black Bike event. When I went to the Roundup last year, some good 1,000 or so people, bikes there, probably a total about 5,000 to 6,000 people had to come in and out of the event, probably more than that. They isolate into an area to hold the event. This year it's in Memphis, and it's quite close to the city, actually, very close to the city. Pretty much it's within the city limit this year. It's on a college campus. I'm interested to see how the city will respond to all the bikes flowing in and around, all the Black bikers flowing in and around Memphis. And of course, this is majority an older crowd. It's like 40s and 50s year old. But It is quite possible to recreate a Freaknik style event, but it'll have to be a more private, organized event. It's not going to be all wild and shit like Freak. So we have to let go of that mentality, that aspect. And it would be easier to get that word out because we now have social media. And social media allows for us to be able to get word out easier, less expensive as far as marketing wise. You don't have to depend on word of mouth as much as you had to in the 90s. But we can do it. We can do it. I would actually like to see more of a free love style event, a more hippie kind of event. And that's just a thing for me, but just a more hippie style Woodstock type of event. The smell of weed would probably drive me crazy, but I would love to see that happening with Black people, where we begin to explore more of our sensuality and explore more of our consciousness through music and all the other stuff that goes along with it. But I would like to see that because the freeing of ourselves to truly, like I say on every video, you got to free yourself to be yourself. I think, but Black people still need to free themselves and free themselves of this Western restricted mentality. Actually, Kwanzaa would be a good time frame, even though it's cold. It's the only problem with Kwanzaa. It's cold. It's wintertime. But in Atlanta, you can get shit. It can be December and you have 70 degrees. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be. But you see, people, if they came out to do a Kwanzaa, to utilize Kwanzaa as a tag to have a large Black event, you're going to push away a lot of people because you're going to want to make it all subdued. But you have to allow some level of freedom. There has to be a party involved. Without the party, it's not going to happen. And then, of course, the security. You got to bring in the security measures to keep people safe. There's always somebody there's always a group who wants to take things overboard. There's always that group that wants to rob and steal and kill. You have that during Coachella. You have the criminals who look at it as an opportunity to rob people. You have people looking for opportunity to take advantage of it. And you have to do your best to make that a minor thing and not a major thing. But of course, with us, the media will always try to play up the negatives. That's why I said earlier, we haven't felt enough. We haven't felt enough pain to stop them from dictating how we are supposed to be and who we are. Freaknik allow people to be who they are. Those kids, and include myself, we got to explore who we are, in a party mentality, in a sexual mentality. We truly got to explore more of who we are. And I do see that to me, it has benefited more than it has damaged us. And we desperately need that again, but just organize it. I'm not doing it. Before anybody say anything about that, I'm not doing it. Because y'all know I'm not staying here. Not that I have to be. It could be something that in today's world, you can get things done and not even be in that location, and then just come back and forth and be here for the event, and then go back to wherever you live. Can Freaknik be considered a cultural movement like Carnival or Woodstock? It more like Woodstock than Carnival. Carnival is definitely more cultural and long lasting and than Woodstock. You know, they tried to recreate. What's up, Kenneth? They tried to recreate Woodstock on multiple occasions, and it just didn't. It just didn't hold. It just didn't go over as well. You know, Woodstock, kind of like Freaknik, had that moment in time, that lightning in the bottle, where uh, white people were protesting Vietnam War. They had not too long got out of the Korean War, the anti-government feel that was going on. And Freaknik was similar in that it was just black youth enjoying themselves, having fun. But there was nothing political about it. There was nothing that like moved the needle for. No, I think Freaknik did more good. Like I said earlier, it made people want to move here to black people move financially and educationally and economically. Well, I said but we grew because of it. We were able to get together. We were able to together. Yeah, there was some problems, but we had a lot more fun. Sure, a lot of Freaknik babies were born. Quite positive of that. Quite sure that there are a bunch of men who are my age and older who have raised children that biologically are probably not. And I'm sure that there are, on a negative portion of that, it probably increased single motherhood as well. So in that regard, it did some harm, but overall, I think it did more good. You know, I think there were opportunities there that were missed to be able to add a political element to it, a cultural element to it, to add more, to add some level of unity towards it. But that would have been hard to do. It could have been done because the mindset of people when it came to Freaknik was not political or anything like that for the most part. But and the youth weren't. We wasn't thinking about networking and business at that time frame. It was those people who were in their 30s and 40s who took advantage of the business opportunities that occurred there. And Freaknik provided, for a lot of those people, Freaknik provided that initial capital to build something else afterward. I know people who I know of, I don't know them. I know of people who, because of money that they made during Freaknik, they were able to open, restaurants, clothing stores, and, you know, buy homes, things of that nature, because they saw Freaknik and it was like, hey, I can go out here and over this weekend, I can make 10 grand. And 10 grand in the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, you could do some things with that back then. In today's world, a person, just setting up shop, tent and selling stuff over Freaknik weekend, if planned correctly, a person can make them 30, 40,000 over that weekend and then utilize that money to be able to open up whatever their business that they envisioned or dreamed or, to move forward or put a down payment house or some property. So it can have that. You can organize it today where there are a lot more of those styled events. But you got to have a party. There's got to be a party element to it to attract people. And that's the thing. You can have the fun party side, and then you have the networking business side of it as well to allow for us to grow within our more within ourselves. Those things can be created. Somebody, if it's just a Coachella style concert, it's hard to add that element to it. You've got to have more going on with it. It's kind of like when we used to have, I don't know if they still have it here in Atlanta, the for sisters only. For sisters only it had a party element, but it also had convention hall. It had some concerts. It had networking event. It had classes. Other side conferences and things of that nature. From my understanding, I've never been, but the Essence Festival has similar things like that going on as well. It's a party down in New Orleans, but there are conventions, there are networking events. They do have those sorts of things, and it's more tamed. It's not as wild as Freaknik. That's why I was saying you did something like that today. You cannot use the name Freaknik because just within the name is freak freak pick. The name is going to throw off whatever intentions you have to make it a bigger benefit, a long lasting benefit. It was a real party in Atlanta in '96. We had Freaknik and then the Olympics. Yeah, it was. I did come back to Atlanta. I didn't come back for the Freaknik, but I came back for the Olympics. Um, Rented our houses. We provided transportation. I mean, I had already pretty much gotten out of debt in by the time '96 came around, but it got me. I was completely out of debt, and I had some money. I had some workable capital after the Olympics. But it was a party. When we weren't running transportation, it was out there partying. You know, um, I think that was one of the failures of the. I don't know if you went to the Million Man March. I was very disappointed with the Million Man March. Very disappointed. I went there expecting huge host organizations, growth after the Million Man March, but it was come to DC, make some speeches. Then the sentiment was go back home and build on it. But there was no go home and build on this and here's some resources to go build on it. There wasn't a lot of it. I said no, there was like as in none. It wasn't much. There was some much that the needle would move. That's what we have to have. So the thing is, yes, there was the call for us to go back and build our families. The fairs on Washington, it was a failure. Yeah, it was a failure. Because if I did a Million Man March, there would have been clear instructions of what we need to do after the event. Hey, my birthday twin, how you doing? Um, there would have been clear instructions of what to do post Million Man. And that's the thing. We've had these big ass events that brought Black people together, whether it was a party of Freaknik, was a Million Man March, or any other event. We still got Essence Festival, Sisters for Sisters Only, I'm pretty sure. And you got states that might be different events that bring a lot of Black people together. There's no after action. There's no after action. You need a Million Man Gun March. You got that one organization that tries to do that. They came down here to Atlanta. They marched around, told everybody, bring your weapons, but don't have any ammo. I thought, the hell, I had my ammo. You know, it came and it's gone. Um, Black Lives Matter came and gone. Nothing behind it. Do you foresee this documentary reigniting the Me Too movement? No. Mm-mm. No, nowhere near to the degree that the Me Too movement was. Shit, Me Too movement had people scared. But I don't think it's going to reignite that. I do think there are going to be some people who are embarrassed about what they did. They were the ones in it. They may try it. They may try to explain away their activities by saying that they were forced into this, forced into that. And I'm sure that there was some forcing that was going on. I don't think everybody was approving of everything that happened to them during Freaknik, but I don't think it's going to be a resurgence of one is going to be hard as shit to prove. Basically, going to be your word against their word, and we're talking 30 years ago. That's going to be almost 30 years ago. That's going to be very difficult to prove. Allegations do hurt. You know, we see how detrimental the allegations have been towards Jonathan Majors right now. The girl even recanted and said that started it, and they still are going to go through the process. I think he will be vindicated, but public opinion has already went left. America is not a innocent until proven guilty. It is a guilty public eye until innocence is proven, and I somewhat still think you're guilty, especially when it comes to a man, and especially when it's a Black man. Yeah, they wanted us to march around Stone Mountain with your gun but no ammo. I was like, the hell? And I don't know if people know this, but the downtown area that sits outside of, which is called Stone Mountain, downtown Stone Mountain, there was a huge ass rebel KKK grouping that was over there. Because I drove through them and I was like, look at this shit here. Damn right, I'm carrying my ammo. Because if these jokers come on and try to face up, I'm not sitting there. Now, they've said that the guys in charge of it, they had ammo. I'm like, what good is all these other guns if there's no ammo? I'm pretty sure other guys, like, hell no, I'm carrying my ammo. I'm sure the no ammo thing was more of a wink wink kind of no ammo thing. I gotta eat before I do these videos. I be sitting up here getting hungry as hell. I don't like when people. Yeah, I think most guys were walking around with ammo. I know I certainly was. I was not gonna do that. No ammo bullshit. Um, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't. I hate when people eat on camera, but as they would say, I care. My 9mm had ammo in it. Now, what you would see if we did so, gun laws. The United States never really wanted to have any gun laws, and everybody fought against it. Black Panthers started walking around with AK-47s, and then all of a sudden, here comes some gun restrictions or high-powered semi-automatic weapons. During COVID, Black people bought guns left and right. And initially, you saw a little bit of restrictions on gun control, but it quickly ebbed away. Now you can be in Georgia, and I think Florida just enacted it, but you don't even have to have a license to carry concealed. You don't even have to have a license. Now, Black people really start buying guns, and brandishing those guns and fighting it in court when they try to take them. You would then see some new gun laws enacted. One guy had an interesting thought: innocent until proven not black. Agree with that one. One gentleman in here, he was saying that if you really want to change brutality, have black people go out and get insurance. Because if those insurance companies have to start paying money for wrongful death, the insurance lobbyists would be on the side of retraining police. Let's stop all these killing from the police, because the insurance game is not based on them paying out money. It's based on you paying your premiums, and then you get into some kind of financial situation where you stop, you never have to pay. It's not designed to actually pay you. They don't want to pay you. If they can avoid paying you, they will. So there's some validity to what the gentleman is talking about, as far as everybody, white people going out and getting insurance. And even though I wholly disapprove of term life is affordable. And I would say get term life and afford whole life. But you want whole life, not term life. It would make a difference if all these in police brutality, if we had to do that. Did Freaknik spark the girls going wild? I can see that. I can't say definitely, but I can definitely see how that guy could have been sitting there knowing about Freaknik and be like, you know what? I'm gonna go start recording all this spring break stuff and putting those videos out and doing this whole girls going wild thing. He got in trouble like a couple years back, something. I forgot what he got in trouble. But he got caught up in some kind of scam. I think some of the girls were underage, was one of the aspects of it. Cigars make you hungry too. It burns the sugar in your blood, so you have to replace it. But I can see how girls on wild could have been inspired by Freaknik. That guy made what he made $10 million off of Girls Going Wild. I'm sure. Actually, I remember you could have bought videos of Freaknik back in the 90s. I do recall some people selling VHSs, not to the level of Girls Gone Wild, because they didn't have the money to put it out there for national advertisement. Because you got to realize that was before the internet was the internet that we have today. That dude could have been inspired. People today, though, they get so you don't have the right to record me. You can't record me. Although legally you can record any person in a public space, and that person really doesn't have the ability to tell you that you can't. But people go out of their way. Like if you ever look at Google Maps, if they're showing a person's face, oftentimes they'll scrub the face. They'll blur out the face. Not because they have to, but simply because just to keep litigation. Because we are a very people will sue you over any and everything. So you do have to be mindful of that. Getting caught up by people who are looking to make $1 off of. But the Girls Gone Wild guy, I can see that he might have started his whole thing because of that. Made over 20 million first 2 years out. Man, I missed the opportunity. I could have been going around spring break recording Girls Gone Wild. We go out and record Bikers Going Wild at different bikers events. I mean, because I haven't been, but I heard the people at Sturgis losing their shit. Prominent Black women who attended Freaknik are saying the documentary might affect their careers. It could. It could. America, I said how Joe Biden supported the crime bill that has incarcerated and many Black people and pushed up pushed the incarceration of Black men to a higher level, filled the prisons, the private prison industrial complex, and yet he still became president. Nobody cared about that. It was about we can't have Trump in it. Nobody cared about his racism from 30 years ago. But if you are a prominent lawyer, doctor, politician, and your face shows up on Freaknik, just as somebody was trying to say that, what's the singer? I just said her name, Yolanda Adams. People are claiming that there's a picture of Yolanda Adams. It's not an egregious looking picture just because of what she. It could affect her. It could affect somebody. You're the chairwoman of the Georgia Democratic Party. It could affect the position. And there, you're chairperson over the NAACP, or those types of organizations, or you're a CFO, CEO, CIO of some company. It could affect you. It could, if you allow it. Well, America will allow it. America, people in general, they love to ride you up, but they love even more to ride you down. Let's say this YouTube or Facebook channel just explodes because you guys are out sharing it and it explodes. And all of a sudden it's 2 million people following this channel. Somebody somewhere will go digging in my past, and they will try to find something in my past to knock me off the pedestals. And it won't be hard. I don't know if they got any Freaknik pictures of me, because I wasn't paying attention to anybody taking pictures. They'll dig into my military career. They'll dig into my finances of the times I've filed bankruptcy, dig into the arrears of my child support. They'll dig into any and everything to try to knock me down. The only difference is I'm the kind of person who don't give a shit. I'll tell you what the real situation is. And to me, that's that. This is what happened. 10 years ago, business was horrible. And it was horrible for 8 years. Life of an entrepreneur. It happens. There was a picture of me there in Freaknik. I was 18, 19 years old. 51. Personally, I would flip it on the person. I was like, so you're going to hold me accountable for something I did before I matured into the person that I would just have a whole speech that actually condemns whoever puts it out as they're on a witch hunt because they don't like who I am today and what I'm doing today. And they're trying to use that to discourage people to say that I am the same person. And we actually, as humans, we fall for that bullshit constantly. We hold people accountable for who they were in the past as if they haven't grown. Instead of looking at who a person has been for the last 5 or 6 years, we will hold them to who they were 30 years ago. 20 years ago, many of you guys would not have liked me 20 years ago. I was not as tactful 20 years ago. I did not maintain my bearing as well as I did 20 years ago. If you watched I did a cigar video yesterday, and this guy brings up this, he tried to entrap me on my cigar video. And needless to say, I was pissed. It irritated me to no end. I will say that I lost my bearing for a few minutes. But 20 years ago, me would have cussed that dude out every which way but the right way. Yeah, I'm still hard on people. I was really hard on people 20 years ago. So anyway, those people who may be affected because of it, they shouldn't be affected unless they're still living the same life. The peace, peace, peace. Yeah, I am a much more peaceful person today than I used to. I was ready to fight 20 years ago. 20 years ago, somebody come on here, verbal fight, and then I'm about to invite you to come on up to Atlanta or meet me halfway, and I'm about to dust you up. Pure and simple. I had all that Marine Corps adrenaline going in me. Fighting skills were better. I was ready. But those people who are in high positions, high profile positions today, they should not be affected, and we shouldn't allow them to be affected. If you're in a relationship with them, you shouldn't allow what they did 20 years ago, 30 years ago to affect you in such manner. If you do, to me, that really says something about who you are and not who that person is. That shows that you actually have a current vendetta against that person, and you're utilizing this as an attempt, as a gateway to try to exploit them and bring them down because you don't like who they are today and the position that they're holding today. You know, when that picture came out with, I don't like the Dallas Cowboys and I don't like their owner. He might still be a racist dude, but that picture of him, I think when it was a picture of him during integration, we don't know if he was in that picture, Jerry Jones, we don't know if he was in that picture because he was curious, or we don't know if he was part of the people who were against integration at that time. We just don't know what his mentality was. But I would look at what Jerry Jones does today, what he's done over the last 5, 10 years, and evaluate him based on that. One, I just don't like Dallas Cowboys. But I don't like him. I don't trust him as a good person, but I don't know him, so I can't say that at a 100% level. It's Freaknik Doctor try to paint people as a Black Savage and Black Savage. Can't say that until I see it. Can't say that until I see it. I think it might try to, it could try to sway the narrative of, you know, of Black men being aggressive, something violent, because I told my brother that I do this every day up until about 1 o'clock. He still calls. Um, but I don't, I think it could be, that could be a part of it. I think there may be segments of it that try to do that. It's all really gonna come down to who's the producer of the video and what their agenda is. Um, why are they calling me back to back? That's usually an emergency. My brother's emergencies be stuff like, "Hey man, what you doing? Where you at? Anybody at the lounge? I'm heading up that way." That's usually his emergencies. I told him to text me. Oh, it's 12:30 almost. Let me unlock this door. Said to you. Yeah, it's not yet. But yeah, uh, they could. They could try that. They could try to paint Black men in a negative light, and then try to paint Black women um, in a similar light as Black women being loose and that sort of thing. But I don't think we should allow that. If they do, if that is how the video comes out, then we should make a concerted effort to go against that. We have to realize that everybody is a media outlet. If you have any form of social media, you are a media. So instead of spreading the word, we have a tendency to spread negative word more so than positive. If they do paint it that way, people like me who utilize these platforms and making videos and whatnot. Now, hold on. Hey man, I'm doing a live video. What's up? Oh, they ain't gonna pick up. See, this is why I don't like my brother sometimes. See, I'm gonna fight my brother. I sent him a message, but he calls me. Okay. Hmm. Hey man, I'm doing a live video. I'm doing a live video. Hey, I'm doing a live video. Is this like super important? Can't stand my brother. And then he keeps, and it's my, he got my sister on the phone. They calling me about life insurance for my mom. I don't care. Oh my. You think he know how to already use a three-way, but he keep on losing, hanging up on me. How will pastors and past preachers try to capitalize on this document? Oh, you know they about to do some sermons. You know they about to do sermons about. Um, I know many of you have realized how wrong you were and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, good. Some of y'all have come, realized and gained your forgiveness, but the work is still not done. We still have our youth out there doing this and that, still, out there, and we need to go out, minister to these people, and or the sermons are the devil tried to take you, but that you came to the Lord and found your salvations, and I think that they're going to use it good sermon, and they'll use it as a good sermon. Some will go wider with it, really try to make it into. Some ministers will go very wide with it and try to make it into, try to use it as a launching point to build their congregation. I don't blame them. If I was a pastor, I probably would do the same thing. I would follow that thought process and say, let me see how maybe I can get a 10% boost in my audience, in my growth uh, as a pastor by utilizing something that's popular. Preachers and speakers do this all the time. Some people will even, hell, I'm doing it right now. It's a hot topic. It's a topic that people are talking about. So I thought about it. In what term does it fit my agenda as far as Black people, as far as us not holding on to what are done in the past, so that we don't get caught up in the negative end of it. People are leaving relationships because of what somebody did 30 years ago, where we're not evaluating people for who they were back then for this one moment in time, this one weekend, and look at a person as far as who they are today. So we all are, you know, anybody who uses hot topics can fall into that same category. It's just really what's their agenda using it, that we repeat it over and over again. If you don't know the name, if you don't know the history of the, don't know what the agenda is, you don't fully grasp what they're trying to accomplish. CMAC says that Jermaine Dupri is helping to do it. So shit, he would have been my age back then. So, Jermaine Dupri, as far as in the forefront, hasn't know what he's been doing behind the scenes. He could be a whole bunch, but for him, it's a nostalgic thing that he can utilize to make money. If he's doing it, it should have more of a party, history of and party element to it, and not really have an agenda, but more entertainment, so that people will watch it and smile, and not so much trying to make Black people look bad. I've never thought of him as the kind of Black person who tries to hurt other Black people. He's user of entertainment. And yes, sometimes that entertainment is detrimental to Black people. And sometimes people who produce that thing don't really think about the political, cultural, economic disasters that they could create. And they don't realize it's after the fact. But I don't know him personally. I dealt with him for about 6-7 months, about 14, 15 years ago, about 14 years ago. But that was only for a short period of time. There was only so many conversations that we had. So I don't know him. So I don't know exactly what his agenda may be. Just on the surface, I would say his agenda is just to entertain people and make some money. But I don't think that he would do it to try to hurt. So that's a good thing if he's helping out on it. That's a good thing. Might be, but it depends on who got the big money in it. What are the executives at Hulu saying? What do they want to see? What's their agenda? That would be the bigger question and situation as to what their agenda is. But I think we've exacerbated this conversation. So let me leave you with the idea of, regardless of what comes, if you know somebody personally, see them on the video, don't hold them accountable for who they were as a or young adult. Look at them for who they are today. If you love that person, keep loving them because you love them for who they are today, not something that they participated in 20, 30 years ago. It should not cause you to break up in relationships. It should not cause you to, if they're a political figure or somebody in high prestige, it shouldn't cause you to look down upon that person. But you should still look at them the same way you just have a perspective of wild out back. You know what? I did wild out a little bit too in different ways. And that's your past, that's my past. Love you for who you are. I love you for who you are. And if we can see this as a way to create deeper cultural connections between people but actually move forward in building, then that's what we should be doing. Build on things like this. We should build on the ability for us to come together and connect, and not just let it be lightning in the bottle as it was. It was a lightning in the bottle. You see an opportunity that you can build something that's better, then build something that's better. You can build your community better, stronger, and then we grow. Whether we realize it or not, we still, well, if we don't realize it, I really got a question. What's wrong with your eyes and your ears? But we still suffer at the hands of American imperialism. So, but the way we build from starts at the ground level of family and neighborhood, so forth. That is our outlook. That should be our outlook. That's what we should recognize from this documentary of how we can grow and not be stagnant and well, there's no stagnation, but not to lessen ourselves, lessen our communities, but to realize what that would be the lesson. So with that, I'm going to end. Call my brother back since he's getting on my nerves. And so y'all have a great day. And remember that tomorrow, we are back live tomorrow. We talk about some spiritual stuff. We're talking about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the process that the Book of the Dead talks about as far as what happens after death. And what was it? There was something else. Oh, and how that actually that the Book of the Dead could have some validity based on dream states and our subconscious, how to prepare ourselves for that eventuality. If dreams and the Book of the Dead are correct, it's better to prepare ourselves for that. But even in the preparation of that, we can make ourselves into greater divine beings today by having more control or say in our consciousness that we have today and moving forward throughout the rest of our life here on this matter plane existence, and better prepare for whatever that nobody knows, for whatever happens after we leave this matter plane existence. So that will be the conversation tomorrow. So 10 o'clock right here. Except for you take Facebook, it'll be on my Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz page. But that's the conversation for tomorrow. So I look forward to it. And I'm going to shut this down because I need to make about 1 or 2, 3 other short form videos to get posted later on today on my YouTube, on this YouTube channel, as well as my other channels, my Why I Left Religion with Coach Renz channels. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself. Greatness is not an illusion. Good journey, good vibrations. Yo, and on YouTube, when I turned off Facebook, YouTube, I need y'all to give me some more, what things would you like for me to make videos about? I need you to start putting those in the comments, submitting those. And especially if you're a member of the page, if you join this page, I will definitely make a video based on what you're asking, more so than anybody else. So that's the benefit of being a member. Or if you're on my Patreon. I don't really use Patreon that much. There are still some people there, so I want to give them that privilege as well. Good journey, good vibrations. Turn this on. Yeah.